Andrew Jackson was one of the most controversial and impactful figures in American history. Born on March 15, 1767, in the Waxhaws region between North Carolina and South Carolina, Jackson came into the world during a time of political unrest and hardship. He was the son of poor Scotch-Irish immigrants, and his early life was shaped by adversity. His father died before he was born, and during the American Revolutionary War, his family suffered greatly. By the age of 14, Andrew Jackson was an orphan, his mother and brothers having died due to war-related illness and hardship. These difficult beginnings forged in him a sense of toughness, self-reliance, and a deep mistrust of privilege and aristocracy. Jackson grew up with little formal education, but he developed a quick wit, a fiery temper, and an unshakable determination. His early years were marked by a restless pursuit of independence and opportunity, traits that would follow him throughout his life. In his late teens, he moved to the western frontier of Tennessee, where he studied law and quickly established himself as a frontier lawyer known for his aggressive style and relentless pursuit of justice. Jackson's military career began in the Tennessee militia, where he rose to prominence during the War of 1812. He earned the nickname Old Hickory because of his toughness and unyielding leadership. His most famous military achievement came during the Battle of New Orleans in January 1815, where he led a diverse army of regular soldiers, militia, free African Americans, Native American allies, and even pirates to a stunning victory against the British. This victory, coming after the Treaty of Ghent had been signed, but before the news had reached America, turned Jackson into a national hero and cemented his reputation as a defender of the common people. Riding this wave of popularity, Jackson entered national politics. He ran for president in 1824, but lost in what became known as the corrupt bargain, when John Quincy Adams won the presidency through a controversial decision in the House of Representatives. Jackson and his supporters were outraged, believing the will of the people had been ignored. 4 years later, in 1828, Jackson won the presidency in a landslide, portraying himself as a man of the people against the entrenched political elites. Jackson's presidency marked a turning point in American politics. He expanded the power of the presidency, using it as a direct instrument of the people's will rather than merely an administrative office. He wielded the veto power more than all his predecessors combined, not just on constitutional grounds, but also on policy disagreements. His strong executive approach earned him both passionate supporters and fierce critics. One of the most defining aspects of Jackson's presidency was his stance against the Bank of the United States. Jackson believed the bank was an undemocratic institution that concentrated too much economic power in the hands of a privileged few. In 1832, he vetoed the renewal of the bank's charter, framing it as a battle between democracy and aristocracy. This bank war became a central issue in his re-election campaign, and Jackson's victory signaled broad public support for his populist vision. Jackson's presidency also saw the implementation of the spoils system, in which government jobs were awarded to loyal political supporters. While Jackson argued this practice democratized government and opened opportunities for ordinary citizens, critics claimed it encouraged corruption and incompetence. A rather controversial and deeply tragic element of Jackson's legacy was his policy toward Native Americans. Jackson was a firm advocate of Indian removal, and his support for the Indian Removal Act of 1830 led to the forced relocation of tens of thousands of Native Americans from their ancestral lands in the southeastern United States to territories west of the Mississippi River. This policy culminated in the infamous Trail of Tears, during which thousands of Native Americans died from disease, exposure, and starvation. Jackson's justification for removal was that It would protect Native American cultures from extinction by separating them from white settlers. But in reality, it opened vast tracts of land to white settlement and economic exploitation. Jackson also faced significant political battles during his presidency. One of the most intense was the nullification crisis of 1832 to 1833, which arose when South Carolina declared it had the right to nullify federal tariffs it considered unconstitutional. Jackson, a staunch Unionist, saw nullification as a direct threat to the survival of the United States. He responded firmly, threatening to use military force against South Carolina, while simultaneously working with Congress to pass a compromise tariff to de-escalate the situation. His handling of the crisis reinforced federal authority while avoiding outright conflict. In foreign policy, Jackson pursued a pragmatic approach, emphasizing national honor and expanding trade. He paid off the national debt in 1835, the only time in U.S. history. This has happened, though this achievement was short-lived due to subsequent economic instability. Jackson also recognized the independence of Texas after it broke away from Mexico, though he delayed formal annexation to avoid sectional tensions over slavery. Jackson's personal life was as colorful and combative as his political career. He married Rachel Donaldson Roberts, who had been involved in a complicated and controversial divorce before their union. Political opponents attacked their marriage during the 1828 campaign, and Rachel's death shortly before Jackson's inauguration devastated him. He was known for his fierce loyalty to friends and allies, but equally for his willingness to engage in duels and political feuds. After leaving office in 1837, Jackson retired to his plantation, the Hermitage, in Tennessee, where he remained an influential figure in Democratic Party politics until his death on June 8, 1845. His 2 terms in office left a lasting imprint on the presidency, strengthening the executive branch and redefining its role as a representative of the people's will. However, his legacy is deeply complicated. Celebrated for his populist spirit and defense of democracy, but criticized for his authoritarian tendencies and policies that caused immense suffering for Native Americans. Today, Andrew Jackson remains a polarizing figure in American history. Supporters view him as a champion of the common man who broke the power of elites and expanded democratic participation. Critics see him as a symbol of aggressive nationalism and racial injustice. His image on the $20 bill and the continued debates over his legacy reflect the enduring complexity of his life and presidency. Whether admired or condemned, Jackson's influence on the American political landscape is undeniable, and his story continues to spark discussion about the nature of leadership, the limits of presidential power, and the meaning of democracy itself.